Good evening, everyone. I'm Bronwyn Pearce, and welcome to Reasonable Faith Adelaide. Tonight we have Kevin Rogers speaking on ageing and death, particularly the book of the Ecclesiastes in 12, where it speaks about the futility of living under the sun, the coming judgment, and why does the Bible teach about dying and what happens with the life after death. So Kevin will address these types of issues in the discussion of Ecclesiastes. How should we live during these evil days, and what is more important in life, or most important in life? So it's over to you, Kevin.
Right, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. So this is my outline. Why do we decline and die? Biological and theological reasons. The imagery in Ecclesiastes 12, what does it mean? The futility of living under the sun, the coming judgment. What does the Bible teach about dying and what happens with life after death? How should we live during these evil days, and what is most important in life? This is a picture of one of my grandchildren, my third grandchild. It's Anna, and she was probably around about 4 at the time, so she's changed a lot since then. But I won't give a recent photo because I should protect her privacy, and if I did, I'd get in deep trouble with her mother, who is my daughter, Kylie. Anyway, when I turned 65, Anna was 5. And I knew she is pretty bright. So I asked her, how many times older am I than you? So that's 5 into 65. And she thought about it for a while, and she came back and said 13. Oh, sorry. Oh, I was pretty impressed. So I thought I'd press her a bit more. I said, in 5 years' time, how much older will I be than you? And she got a bit of help from her siblings. So, by the way, ask the people here, what's the answer? How much older would I be than Anna in 5 years' time? You have to now unmute.
60?
No.
7.2.
I've got it wrong.
In 5 years' time, how much older? How much?
She'll be 10.
My age be?
You'll be 70.
7.
Just 7.
You'll still be 60 years older, though. You'll always be 60 years older than her, won't you?
That's right. Yeah.
How many times?
Yeah. Seven times. I'd
7
be
times 10.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry. Anyway, so she got a little bit of help from a sister.
Oh, how many times?
She came back and said the answer 7. That's all right.
Oh.
So I thought I'd stretch her just a little bit more. So I said, in 10 years' time, how much older will I be than you? So what's the answer to that?
5.
Yeah, I'd be 75 and she would be 15. So that's right, 5 times. But anyway, that's not the answer she got to go. She thought about it for around about 10 seconds and said, Granddad, in 10 years' time, you'll be dead. So I laughed, and I was feeling quite well until then. But I thought, I'm unbreakable. I'll be here when I'm 75. So I thought she was being overly pessimistic. But she was nearly right. I thought I was unbreakable, but I had a stroke on the 9th of August. It was about 7:30 in the morning. I was sitting by my computer, and I started seeing double. My right eye was seeing was top right relative to my left eye, which was bottom left. So I got up, had a look in the mirror in the bathroom, and I thought, oh, I can't see anything weird. I just thought I was tired. But So I went back to the computer, and a Sri Lankan lady who's staying with us walked past me, and she looked at me strangely, went into the kitchen. And when she came back out, she saw me slumped over the computer. So she quickly got my wife up and explained the situation. I was out to it by then. And Anne ordered the ambulance to come, and they got here pretty quickly. And they got me to the Royal Adelaide Hospital within 1.5 hours, which was around about 9 a.m. And so they gave me a CT scan and found out that I had a clot in my brain. And they fed me strong blood thinners. And I was in the emergency department just having had the blood thinners. And I recovered my speech within 3 to 4 hours. And they tested me over the next couple of days, and they gave me an absolute clean bill of health. So I was very lucky, so to speak. But it did give me the realization that life is very fragile. So I was not so unbreakable after all. So, but we still do decline. Life becomes more risky. So I'm going to look at what causes aging, both the biological causes and the theological causes. So biological causes for decline and death. I'll just go through these very briefly. So one is telomere shortening, DNA damage and mutations, cellular senescence, whatever that means, mitochondrial decline, loss of proteostasis, stem cell exhaustion, chronic inflammation, and weakened communication. So I won't go through the explanations because I'm an engineer, don't know. But the first one's interesting, telomere shortening. If I've got a picture over here of a chromosome, and they have bits on the end called telomeres. And every time a cell reproduces, these telomeres get shortened. And so after a while, when the telomeres get too short, the cells can no longer reproduce. And so you run out of cells and you die. And so that puts a definite cap on how old we can actually live. And then there are theological reasons. So I give a verse here. And the Lord commanded the man, this is from Genesis chapter 2, you may surely eat of every tree in the garden, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat. From the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die. And it says our maximum age is about 120 years. It says, then the Lord said, my spirit shall not abide in man forever, for he is flesh. His days shall be 120 years. And that actually aligns quite well with our experience, because the oldest recorded person is a lady called Jeanne Calment of France, who died on 4th of August 1997. She was aged 122 years and 164 days old. And it is almost impossible to go past that age. Elsewhere, it says in Psalm 90, Psalm 90 is also about aging and is very well worth reading. But it says, the years of our life are 70, or even by reason of strength 80, yet their span is toil and trouble. They are soon gone and we fly away. So the interesting thing about this is that the 70 and 80 is not all that much different from today. So people back then, before Christ, or Israelites, lived to be about the same age as what we do. So how come we have so many improvements to our health? We have improvements in medicine and sewage and all these sort of things that put us less at risk. But we also have compensating things. There are modern hazards that the ancients weren't involved in, such as smoking, drugs, pollution, etc. And these tend to actually compensate for the modern improvements. And in fact, even doctors die. Just a bit of background to the book of Ecclesiastes. In Hebrew, Ecclesiastes is called Qoheleth, which is usually translated the preacher or the teacher. And traditionally, Ecclesiastes is ascribed to Solomon, who was the wisest man on all the earth, because it starts in verse 1 with the words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. And Ecclesiastes looks at life from the position of living under the sun. So that means living in this world as though this world is all there is. And it includes many times that vanity of vanities, all is vanity. But Ecclesiastes 12 is the final chapter. It summarizes the book's reflection on aging, death, the meaning of life, and the final judgment. So I have, for many years, had a fascination with this chapter. I think it's beautiful in the way it's described. It starts off, remember also your Creator in the days of your youth before the evil days come and the years draw near of which you'll say, I have no pleasure in them. It lists the characteristics of our decline and death. It can be a depressing topic, but the imagery is very beautiful and it can even make you laugh, or nearly. But I just find it wonderful. Anyway, here is the chapter. At this point, I will hand over to Bronwyn, and she can read this out.
Okay. Remember also your Creator in the days of your youth, before the evil day comes and the years draw near, of which you will say, I have no pleasure in them. Before the sun and the light and the moon and the stars are darkened, and the clouds return after the rain, in the day when the keepers of the house tremble, and the strong men are bent, and the grinders cease because they are few. And those who look through the windows are dimmed, and the doors on the street are shut. When the sound of the grinding is low, and the one rises up at the sound of the bird, and all the daughters of song are brought low. They are afraid also of what is high, and the terrors are in the way. The almond tree blossoms, the grasshopper drags itself along, and desire fails, because man is going to his eternal home. And the mourners go about the streets. Before the silver cord is snapped, or the golden bowl is broken, or the pitcher is shattered at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the cistern, and the dust returns to the earth as it was, and the spirit returns to God who gave it. Vanity of vanities, says the preacher, all is vanity. The end of the matter, all has been heard. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God will bring every deed into judgment with every secret thing, whether good or evil.
Thank you, Bronwyn. And so when it starts, it's originally addressed to young people. Remember also your Creator in the days of your youth, before the evil days come and the years draw near, of which you'll say, I have no pleasure in them. So this verse first addresses our young people, is a command to warn us to remember our Creator before we get old. I'm also preparing this talk. I initially prepared this talk for my own church to give a sermon on Sunday. And we have an elderly congregation. The average age is around about 70. We have a sprinkling of young people, mainly from overseas. And so they are there to observe all these older people. So they have plenty of examples of people for whom the evil days have come. So be warned. Ecclesiastes 12 contains all these metaphors of what it means to actually decline due to age. And at this point, you can enable your audio if you'd actually like to contribute, and see if you can answer these questions. So the first metaphor is before the sun and the light and the moon and the stars are darkened. So what does that mean to you? What do you think it means?
It means you're going blind.
Right, okay, yeah.
Cataracts are certainly more common in the elderly.
And a what?
Cataracts
Oh, cataracts, yeah.
are
Right.
much more common in the elderly.
Yeah.
They do happen in young people, but not often.
Right, okay. The clouds return after the rain. Bit harder, isn't it?
It could be that you wee more.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh. Oh, that's a very good answer. Yes. All right. Well, I've got some answers provided by chat, by the way, so I'll just leave it at that. When the keepers of the house tremble.
No, that might mean you've fallen behind in your home maintenance.
I like
Right.
it, Derek.
Yeah. Any better attempts?
Could be talking about your immunity system.
True. What about your legs? No?
Oh, somebody said legs.
Yeah.
You're close. Yeah. Anyway, we'll move on.
The house is an interesting
Kevin, I'd say after your experience, the trembling could be worried that it's going to happen again or get worse. So the trembling could be a fear of declining function as time goes on.
Yeah, okay. All right, the strong men are bent.
osteopenia and osteoporosis
Your back, probably.
in your back.
Yeah. Well, it's literal, isn't it? When men get older, they lose their posture.
Yeah.
Stoop.
Yeah.
Oh, the grunt disease. You've lost your teeth.
The grinders cease because they are few.
Yeah.
Or you've been to the dentist.
Yes.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it's your mouth.
Those who look through the windows are dim.
That's more visual stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Your eyes, yeah.
All right, this one's a little bit more cryptic. The doors on the street are shut.
Hearing gets worse.
Oh, no one welcomes you.
Yeah. Oh, he said the hearing gets worse. Yeah.
It gets worse. Oh.
And you don't get out as much.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's probably. When the sound of the grinding is low.
That sounds like the hearing is going.
Or you're not eating very much.
Oh, okay.
Both.
All right, well, now we'll go to the answers.
Oh.
All right. Sunlight, moon, and stars are darkened. That's loss of vitality and dimming of vision. So we got pretty close to this one. The clouds return after their waves. So what often happens with rain is you have the rain, you've got dark clouds, the rain stops, then the clouds clear, and you have lovely sunshine. And but here it says the clouds return after the rain. So you have one episode of rain, and then another one comes along straight away. So so it's saying that troubles and sorrows keep coming. There's little relief. That one event occurs after the other. All right. The keepers of the house tremble. So the hands and arms are shaking with weakness, and it's a bit hard to support your body and keep yourself upright. The Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, I'm not convinced by the keepers of the house being hands and arms, but
Well, you're quite right to be not convinced, because commentators have been guessing, and all ChatGPT does is it solicits all the commentators have made, and comes up with the most popular guess. But that is one where they're guessing really. Strong men are bent, legs and backs stooping under frailty. Grinders cease because they are few, loss of teeth. So we got that one. Those who look through the windows are dim, so it's failing eyesight. We got that one. Doors on the street are shut, so it's isolation. That's social isolation. Reduce hearing or diminish activity. Sound of the grinding is low, so that's hearing loss. So that's the first 8. So some are obvious, some are more cryptic, and some nobody knows for certain, but it's not good. More signs of decline. One rises up at the sound of a bird. All the daughters of song are brought low. They are afraid also of what is high. Terrors are in the way. The almond tree blossoms. The grasshopper drags itself along, and desire fails. So, all right, what do you think each of those means? What's one rises up at the sound of a bird?
You don't sleep so well.
Yeah. And it can be literally, can't it? Even the birds wake you up. All the daughters of song are brought low.
you can't sing nearly so well when you're old.
Sing, you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good guess. Oh, not a good guess. It was an educated estimate. All right.
Thank you.
They are afraid also of what is high.
They can't go up the ladders anymore.
True.
Yeah, that's right.
True. Yeah. Yes, and steps. Yeah.
Yeah.
You might fall and break something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Even go on a stool, up a stool.
We have at my church, we have a handyman, and he does a whole pile of work up in heights, and there's a reputation for falling off ladders. So he's landed himself in the hospital several times. So he's a good one to do it instead of you. Terrors are in the way.
Perhaps you're worried. I don't know.
I think that's probably quite good. But night terrors are increasing as you get older, and dreams
Okay.
more common. And
I think, yeah, when driving can become more hazardous because you're a bit stiffer, you can't look around, and so it's harder to change lanes and that sort of thing. So life becomes more risky because of your loss of mobility. Now, this one is interesting. I didn't know it before until I read the commentary. The almond tree blossoms.
you get cyanide out of almonds, so that knocks a few people off.
I don't think they realised that in those days, but
Perhaps it seems like the time's going faster. Yeah.
Is it talking about white hair?
yes,
Right.
that's
Well
right.
done.
Because what colour is almond blossom?
Yeah, very good.
White. Yeah, that's great.
The grasshopper drags itself along.
Yeah, lost its
These legs aren't working, are they?
Yeah.
Not being jumpity anymore. No partying. Just dragging yourself along the floor.
Yeah, no more cabarets or going to the whatever. Oh, let's see. Desire fails. What do you think that is?
Libido.
Libido. Yeah, apparently you lose your libido when you get older.
Just as well.
You may lose your libido. You don't definitely lose your libido.
What's that? Sorry?
You may lose it, but you don't definitely.
Yeah. What?
I remember I Loved Lucy years ago. They had a visiting guy who is 80 years old, and they had to entertain him, and so they had dancing girls. I said, why have you got dancing girls? He's 80 years old. And Lucy's reply was, he may be old, but he's not dead. So, all right.
Yeah,
Right. This is a chat GPT again. One rises at the sound of birds, sleep becomes restless and easily disturbed. All the daughters of song are brought low, voice weakens and singing fades.
Mm.
They are afraid of what is high. That's the fear of falling, loss of confidence with heights.
Mm.
Terrors are in the way, so that's insecurity, anxiety in daily life. The almond tree blossoms, his hair turns white. The grasshopper drags itself along in loss of mobility and strength. Desire fails, loss of appetite, vigor, or sexual drive.
Yeah, true.
Okay.
Mm.
Now, the last few are imagery of death, because it says, because man is going to his eternal home, the mourners go about the streets, the silver cord is snapped, the golden bowl is broken, the pitcher is shattered at the fountain, the wheel broken at the cistern. The dust, that should be the dust returns to the earth as it was. The spirit returns to God who gave it. For the most part, they are pretty obvious. But what does, all right, man is going to his eternal home. Tell me.
Everyone dies.
Yes, that's pretty simple, isn't it? Mourners go about the streets. That's pretty simple.
Oh.
They have mourners in the for the funeral.
Yeah.
Then the silver cord is snapped. The golden bowl is broken. The pitcher is shattered at the fountain. The wheel broken at the cistern. So what are your thoughts on that?
Disconnection.
Yeah. Things break up. It's the end. Yeah.
What has been made becomes unmade.
Mm.
Yes. Yeah.
Life and non-life,
Mm.
non-living. Mm.
Yeah. The dust returns to the earth as it was. The spirit returns to God who gave it. So, so most of those are pretty obvious. So mourners go about the streets. That's a funeral procession. The silver cord is snapped. Life suddenly cut off. The golden bowl is broken. The precious vessel of life is shattered. The pitcher is shattered at the fountain. The body no longer draws the water of life. The wheel is broken at the cistern. The machinery of life stops turning. The dust returns to the earth. The body decays. The spirit returns to God who gave it. The soul departs back to its maker. So then he goes on, vanity.
Sorry, Kevin, can I just comment here? It's in those illustrations we're seeing that the separation of the spirit from the physical body is what death is, but it's important to see it's promoting the view that you as a spiritual being still exist in the universe.
Yes.
So it's only the body that's falling away.
Yeah.
Which is an important point that I think needs to be emphasized on the topic of death. Death is not the end of the road for the human condition.
Yeah. I do get on that.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's just that the illustrations in that list is all about the separation of the body from the spirit.
Yes. Yeah. So vanity of vanity, says the preacher, all is vanity. If life under the sun is all there is, then life is vanity and futility will be forgotten. It will be as if we never existed. But is this life all there is?
I think the important thing about those verses is that vanity is also, the translation vanity is actually smoke. It's just sort of goes up in the air and disappears.
All right, okay. Well, that's quite picturesque, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, these are Solomon's final words. The end of the matter, all has been heard. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God will bring every deed into judgment with every secret thing, whether good or evil. So it's the anticipation of a judgment. So is this life all there is? He infers it's not. The Old Testament is pretty vague about life after death. It talks about Sheol. These are various attempts to explain what is meant by Sheol. It is a place where all the dead go, both righteous and wicked. It's a shadowy realm, dark, silent, without activity. So it is inferior to our current experience in some ways. It is universal. No one escapes it. It is pictured as beneath the earth. It's a place of forgetfulness, cut off from the living and worship of God. So Sheol is a common destiny of all humans. So when you get blessings and cursings in the Old Testament, a lot of that looks as though that affects how your rewards or punishment that you get in this life. So if you're a good boy, then you'll prosper. And if you're a bad boy, you'll suffer punishment. But it's also observed that it's not always so. Quite often the wicked prosper and the righteous perish. So there's this wrestling with that issue. However, later writing was a hint at differentiation within Sheol. The wicked experience torment. The righteous have hope that God will redeem them from Sheol. But by the time of Jesus, Jews had developed the belief that Sheol or Hades had two compartments. It was a place of rest for the righteous, called Abraham's bosom, or a place of torment for the wicked. But there are some mentions of a resurrection, a more optimistic view in the Old Testament. So there are a few verses in the Old Testament that explicitly teach the resurrection. So from the book of Job, a famous passage, I know that my Redeemer lives, and that in the end he will stand upon the earth. And after my skin has been destroyed, yet in my flesh I will see God. I myself will see him with my own eyes, I and not another. How my heart yearns within me. And in Isaiah, your dead shall live, their bodies shall rise. You who dwell in the dust, awake and sing for joy. For your dew is the dew of light, and the earth will give birth to the dead. Then in Daniel, even stronger statement, multitudes who sleep in the dust of the earth will awake, some to everlasting life, others to shame and everlasting contempt. Does the Old Testament teach life after death? Now, there was a difference between the Sadducees and the Pharisees. The Sadducees only recognized the first 5 books, Genesis to Deuteronomy, which they referred to as the Torah, and denied the resurrection. Whereas the Pharisees recognized the law and the prophets. So all those passages in Job, Isaiah and Daniel, the Sadducees wouldn't have recognized, but the Pharisees did. But so Jesus argued that even the Torah, the first 5 books, implicitly taught life after death. He says, but about the resurrection of the dead, have you not read what God said? I am the God of Abraham, the God of Jacob, Isaac, and the God of Jacob. He is not the God of the dead, but of the living. So that's his argument, that he's a God of the living. And he makes that argument from Genesis or Exodus. So note how Jesus appeals to shared authority. So he doesn't go and take proof texts from passages that they did not recognize. He took them from passages that they did approve of and recognize. Is Ecclesiastes consistent with the New Testament? In some respect, it is. Hebrews 9 says, it is appointed for man to die once, and after that comes the judgment. So he speaks about, Ecclesiastes speaks about judgment too. And Ephesians 5, 15, 16 says, look carefully how you walk, making the best use of the time, because the days are evil. So recognize that we have our evil days. Though it's more general than just decline due to age. And then, of course, there are explicit references to eternal life. So though our outer self is wasting away, our inner self is being renewed day by day. So we get a divergence between our outer self and our inner self. One is declining, the other is growing. And then in 2 Corinthians 3, it says, and we all, with unveiled face, beholding the glory of the Lord, are being transformed into the same image from one degree of glory to another. And then with the death of Lazarus, Jesus was speaking to Martha. Jesus said to her, your brother will rise again. Martha said to him, I know that he will rise again in the resurrection of the last day. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection of the life. Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet shall he live. And everyone who lives and believes in me shall never die. Do you believe this? She said to him, yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who is coming into the world. So, all right, this is all interesting. How does it affect the way we live? Like we're getting old, our body declines, like what sort of things we can do? There are many things that we can do. But if I mention all the many things, you'd forget them. But one is better than none. So I'll look at one and hopefully you'll remember that. And I take the text from Psalm number 1. Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of scoffers, but his delight is in the law of the Lord. And on his law he meditates day and night. He is like a tree planted by streams of water that yields its fruit in its season, and its leaf does not wither. In all that he does, he prospers. So there's some things that I'd like to highlight about this. But first of all, it says his delight. So when we actually go and read the Bible, we should find it interesting and enjoyable to read, and not do it because we're meant to read our Bible every day, but because we want to. So his delight is in the law of the Lord. Now, the law sometimes is thought of as the first 5 books, but it actually means something more general than that. It means the whole of the Bible and what they had at the time. And on his law, he meditates day and night. This is actually more easier for me these days. So I wake up during the night, I have to read in order to go back to sleep. And so quite often I'll do some Bible reading. I study the Bible and analyze it with ChatGPT of all things. Some people sneer at that. So he is like a tree planted by streams of water that yields its fruit in its season. So our lives, as we actually learn from the law of the Lord or from the Bible, will become fruitful. And its leaf does not wither. In all that he does, he prospers. That's a promise. But prosperity doesn't necessarily mean becoming rich. It means to actually have a fruitful life that fulfill God's purposes. So that's one way in which we can live out our final days. In other words, read the Bible and enjoy it. When I was baptized at the age of 15. I was converted at 14. And one girl gave me a card. Her name was Nora. She was around about 17 or 18. She seemed really old to me as a 15-year-old. But on the card, it had only one life twill soon be past. Only what's done for Christ will last. And she would have no idea how much that meant to me. I would still have the card. It's in their boxes somewhere, but I would never throw that out because that meant a lot to me. And also, like my own life, I've kind of wandered here and there, and I haven't always kept on the narrow way. But always this verse stood out to me, and I've come back to it time and again. So here's my summary. As we age, we will decline, and our mortal bodies will eventually die. At the same time, we should continue to grow in our mind and spirit towards wisdom and maturity, being changed from one glory into another. So death has lost its sting. When I actually had my stroke, I was in the ambulance, and a guy was there. He was asking me questions. There's a picture of a guy outside mowing the lawn, a woman mother playing with the phone, and there was a boy standing on a stool, reaching up for a cupboard, and the stool was about to fall over, and the mother didn't notice. But I had lost my ability to speak. I couldn't even say mother, father, son. I could make noises, but words didn't come out. And I could hear them talking about me, but I couldn't express my thoughts. And some of the things they said were not all that optimistic. But I wasn't worried at all. I put down this partly due to the fact that I'm an engineer and not involved in medicine, so I didn't know how serious my condition was. The other thing is I was confident in God. I didn't actually feel all that bad, and I didn't feel as bad as what they were saying because I could understand what they were saying. But also I had this arrogant thought, I have too much talent for God can't do without me, so I'm sure he'll get me through. But it still, it says, whoever believes in me, that's Jesus, though he die, yet shall he live. And everyone who lives and believes in me shall never die. So that is the Christian hope. So here, some questions to you. What can you do to make good use of your time to fulfill God's purposes? Does it mean go on ski trips? Spend your kids' inheritance or go on holidays all the time? Does it mean making money? There's a saying you can't take it with you, which is true, and they refer to making money, but you can't take your trips with you neither. And I think there's kind of more worthwhile things just to go and spend your kids' inheritance as well. But what can you take with you? And so next, but we still decline. So if you want to make conversation with other people when you're in an older demographic, you can go and ask, if you introduce to people, you say, oh, I am Kevin Rogers, whoever, and what medications are you on? So make a conversation. That'd be a good way to do it, wouldn't it? But anyway, I open up to questions. What do you plan to do to make good use of your time? That's it. So now I'll return control to Bronwyn.
Thank you, Kevin. That was really, really good. Okay, let's look at the chat. Have we got any? No, nothing in chat?
Oh.
No. Okay, so I'll open up to the floor. Has anyone got any points they want to highlight?
I'd like to highlight that I'm not on any medication.
Wow. Your time will come.
And
Well,
my father is not on any medication either.
What's that?
Yeah,
My
maybe I
father
could
is
share
not on any
some of mine
medication.
with you.
What was yours, Derek? What did you say?
Maybe I could share some of mine with Brian if he's feeling left out.
No, I'm okay, thanks.
Well, yeah, let's see. I have a pacemaker. I'm on cholesterol tablets. I'm on flecainide for atrial fibrillation. Oh, yeah, the thing that caused my stroke was a clot formed in my heart due to atrial fibrillation. And I was on aspirin for blood thinners. But that's now, but since the stroke, they've put on much stronger blood thinners, and I have the Bigatran. Is that right, Derek?
Apixaban, I think, is what you're talking about.
What is it?
I think it's Apixaban. Bill, can you help me with that one?
Yeah, it's the same thing as Vigabatrin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is Bigatran. Yeah. All right. Would other people like to share their medication?
A bit more. So go on, Brian.
You know, aging gracefully is probably the aim of the game. I witnessed this with my grandmother, my father's mother, who was a very hard and difficult woman, a Christian, but really, really difficult to get along with, and very bigoted and opinionated and judgmental, you know, all of the above. But as she aged and she lived to 100, right, in the last 5-10 years of her life, I witnessed the Holy Spirit work on her, and she literally changed before my eyes. Yeah. And yeah, I was flabbergasted, because you would think you would get more and more bitter and angry and about things that had happened, as she'd lost 2 sons, a husband at a younger age, families divorced, and all this type of stuff, things that hadn't gone the way she would have liked them to go. But yeah, I could see God working in her life. She was reading the Bible a lot more. Yeah, and she would talk about God. Yeah, it was a testimony, really. So just one little point.
Did you say aching gracefully or aging?
Aging. Aging.
Most of us don't age gracefully.
You have problems with your hearing.
Yeah.
I really do like that passage you shared about going from glory to glory. I often think of that and remind myself that when I feel like being intolerant or bitter or, you know, gossipy or whatever, that I'm supposed to be getting better, better, not worse. Yeah, it just pulls me up every now and again. Yeah.
I don't know if it's anything to do with our secular dominated culture that doesn't really believe in God or future after we die, that sort of thing. But we try to avoid the whole concept of death so very strongly these days.
Yeah.
So much so that youth is where everything is at. And as soon as you get over 30 or 40 or thereabouts, no one wants to know you, because it reminds them that they're getting older too.
Yeah.
And everything is so fixated on youth and youthfulness.
Yeah.
Because we're too scared.
It's kind of fashionable for people to be accepting of or death, or not, or suppressing, or just not considering it seriously. But like when you have a funeral advertisements, it's all very cheery. With people on their phone and, oh, I'm really happy with my funeral arrangements. And so that's the way it's kind of depicted. That are people being realistic?
Mm.
Well, they're ignoring realism because they do not have what we have, as in the understanding that there is more.
Mm. Oops, sorry.
It's like what Paul said in his letter to the Thessalonians, that when someone that we know dies, we do not mourn as they who have no hope
Yeah.
mourn.
Mm.
And so when we're coming to die, we do not die in despair. We die in hope.
Mm.
Yeah.
Kevin, I have a question on the issue of older people facing death. Over the years, on occasions where I've visited people in hospital where they've basically been told by the doctors, you've got a week to live.
Mm.
And on one occasion, I said to the chap, did he want to talk about God? No. And I offered to send in an Anglican minister who did go. And even when people are faced with the fact, the question I ask always is, surely there's something in a human that would say, tell me more. Is there an answer on the other side if I'm going to die in the next week? And I've had other occasions a bit similar where they're definitely on downward decline. So there's something in the human condition, I believe it has to be seen as spiritual, that right to the end, you want to resist the fact that you're going to die, and there's a consequence. And the other thing, of course, is it's been often commented in today's culture, we don't talk about judgment after death. You know, if you've led a good life, so-called, that'll get you through if there is a God. That's the other thing that comes up a lot from people.
And to add on top of that, I think is a matter of trust. And I think Jesus talked about this. Do you trust in your wealth, in wealth that will rust? You know, where do we put our treasure in? Some people trust in their insurance policy. Some people trust in the government, and some people trust in themselves that they have done enough. And as we know, when we compare each of us to the whole world, even in this world, we are very, very small. I can't say I can depend on myself even to live. I have to depend on God.
Yep.
And when we say we trust in something, it's a matter of faith. And I think that's where in Genesis we read about Adam and Eve. God told them not to eat from the tree. And in a way, he's asking them, he's testing them. Do you trust me? Will you follow my command? Will you follow my law, my way of doing things? And they lost that trust. They chose to trust the serpent instead. And that's the start of the decline.
But was that the start of death? That's my question. Because dying had been going on, it seems to me, for quite some time, millions of years before death actually, before sin came along.
Some people believe that, some people don't.
Oh, well, the difference would be human death or animal death. So,
Well,
yeah.
are we, it's a question about whether what death is. Is it it's a separation from God is one of the cardinal tenets of evangelical faith. But is physical death the result of sin? I'm not convinced by that. I think it's worth thinking that we see animals, we see the world, we see apoptosis, we see necrosis of various things. It's programmed, it's in life. There were cells in those bodies of Adam and Eve, if you think of them as individuals, that were apoptosing and necrosing. and it's ongoing life within death. So I was interested you didn't actually address that issue, Kevin.
I was thinking of addressing it.
Yeah, good.
Oh, death, where is thy sting? The sting of death is sin, sin, and the power of sin is in the law. So the thing that actually makes death terrible is the fact that we are condemned.
Well, is that death? We're talking spiritual death, or we're talking physical death?
What is spiritual death?
Separation from God, I think you would have to say.
Yeah, I think it's combining the two. After death there's a judgment, and that's a thing that's terrifying.
Exactly. You're not in it. Death is not the end, but there is something more concerning to come.
Yes,
if you're a Christian.
Yes.
If you're not a Christian.
But as a Christian, I don't face the judgment that someone else will, because Christ has been my substitute. That's what the whole gospel message is.
Exactly.
I'm not 100% clear on how that works, in the respect that there's scriptures that refer to people being judged on the way they've lived. I know Christians will have some part to play in that, but we've been delivered out of darkness into light. The blood of Christ has covered our sin. From now, for me, I know that before God, the Father God, I'm completely holy and in right standing. I've been justified because of what Jesus did. Nothing else I can do in life can add to that. My good works that I might do are a result of my love for God and what He's done. If we mentioned earlier about getting back to what Kevin mentioned about getting back to what do we do as we age, I think we really have to bring it back to Jesus and what He's done. We have to look to God to get a genuine revelation nearly daily of what He has done for us. I was telling Hassan before we started that I've been delving into looking at the difference between Islam and Christianity, because I teach Muslim kids and I want to present the gospel message to them later in the year around Christmas when it's appropriate. And what really hit me is that God Himself came down to earth, put aside His deity for us, and Christianity has that exceptional part than any other world religion, and it's really invigorated me with my relationship with God. It's just, I'm like, I know this, I've been a Christian for like 40, 50 years, but what we need, that infilling of the Holy Spirit as we age, to invigorate us, to help us to, share with family, to, just carry the message, basically. When I look about this group, the wisdom that is in it, I'm one of the youngest, and I probably find myself the less eloquent of everyone here. Everyone has so much to give. It's beggars belief, honestly. You guys are fantastic, and it's the grace of God that we can, just, I don't know, the gospel message is so unique and so powerful. We just got to get back to that. Anyway, I'm preaching to the converted.
Very good, Bronwyn. Good on you.
Yeah.
One thing about Islam and Christianity, I can recommend the book Seeking Allah, Finding Jesus by Nabil Qureshi.
Yeah.
That's just his story about how he, as a Muslim, chased everything out really deeply.
Yeah. Well, he actually knew the Quran, passages of the Quran off by heart at the age of 5 or 6. So, No, I haven't read his book, but I know of him. Yeah.
It's well worth a read.
Yeah. But Bill, can you just clarify with me? So what's your position? Like, you're a Christian?
Absolutely.
You are. So
Absolutely.
reiterate what you were saying before. I got a bit confused about death when you.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
just think that some of my evangelical brothers and sisters,
Yeah.
when they're preaching,
Yeah.
talk as though physical death is the result of sin. I don't think that's correct. If you have to look at what the Bible says and also look at the book of nature. And the book of nature tells us that dying has been going on for a long time before Adam and Eve came along.
Book of Nature doesn't tell us that. That's how some people have interpreted the Book of Nature.
Which one?
That's how some people have interpreted the Book of Nature. There are many people who do not believe that's how it actually worked. That death came into the world with Adam and Eve.
Yeah. Well,
I don't.
Bill, you've stumbled into a bit of a hot topic because we've got varying opinions here. Right, we
Yeah,
all love
sure.
each other, but we've got
Oh, we
different.
talk about it.
Yeah, well, we talk about it. I'm an old earth creationist, so I believe that death came to, as Romans talks about, is it right, Romans? Death came to all men, okay?
What about the women? Yes.
Yeah, men. As the only woman here, I'm using it.
I noticed.
Oh, June's here, great. Yeah,
Susan
death
might be
came
here
to all
too.
men.
You're misreading Bronwyn deliberately.
Yeah. It was happening beforehand.
Yes, it
Through
was.
one man all died.
Yeah, Christ did not come. The death of Christ does not bring animals to restoration with God. They've all already they were dying beforehand, or they will continue to die. They're not spiritual. They're not made in God's image. It's more. And you will talk about the physical death, yes, but there's a spiritual death that separates us from God. That's what happens. We are born spiritually dead, pretty much. Perhaps.
Really interesting question.
But what Bronwyn said, we're walking into dangerous territory.
Yeah.
We have people on our committee who are young Earth creationists and those who are old Earth creationists. So, but we all love each other.
We do. So Brian will have a different take on it, which is great, and so it's all good. But we would all agree that it's the spiritual death. Wouldn't we, Brian? Brian, would you say spiritual death that separates us from God?
The spiritual death is the separation from God, which I think is what Bill said before.
Yeah.
So I'd largely agree with him on that, but I think there's more to it than just that.
Yeah.
That with the spiritual death, it's like a branch being removed from a tree. That's the equivalent of the spiritual death. But that branch is still alive for some time longer before it actually completely physically dies. So we have been disconnected from God through our spiritual death, and as a result, we die eventually.
Well, I find interesting is that in Genesis where it talks about the tree of life, and then the one that was guarded by the angels, and it sort of infers, or does it say that if Adam and Eve got hold of that fruit, they would physically live forever. All right. Is that right?
There's
There's
tree
not
of
enough
knowledge
information
of
given.
good and evil, and then there is tree of life, which
so they would
gives
physically
eternal
live forever, which God didn't want them to do. So death, in a way, is a gift. All right. Because
no,
no,
not all right. Sorry, death is not a gift.
no, but
Death is an enemy.
yeah, but physical death I'm talking about, in the sense that, well, the question is, why did God stop us from accessing, Adam and Eve accessing that tree?
Yeah, that's a question that doesn't give us any information about. It's worth pointing out, though, that prior to them eating the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil, they were not forbidden from eating from the tree of life.
They weren't, no.
So that was available to them prior to that. How that works out is we're just simply not given enough information. One of those things with many others.
I thought they would stop from eating of the tree of life.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, after they were kicked out of the Garden of Eden, after they had eaten the other fruit.
Yeah.
What would you say, Bill?
I was going to say, not every Christian takes and certainly not every Jew takes those words in Genesis as being
Literal.
words that happened, real life.
Yeah, a literal story.
It's a picture.
Yep.
It's a picture. It's a story. It's a way of getting around the understanding of it and interpreting it to your children, to your colleagues, whatever. But it's, to think that there was a man and a woman who met God in a garden it's wonderful picture language, but was it actually what happened? There have been men probably for years before then. If you take the fossil.
Yeah. Again, as has been said, there are different opinions on that one, and to argue that point through is not what tonight's about, and would take an awful long time, and we probably wouldn't get anywhere anyway.
I just wanted to, just highlight the fact that there is debate there, and I'm happy.
Yeah, definitely.
I think we agree. I think we agree by principle that the spiritual death is the worst part of what we're talking about.
Mm. Mm. Yeah.
I mean, I'm a doctor, so I work hard to make sure people stay alive for as long as it's right for them to stay alive.
Mm.
Yeah.
I'm an IT professional. I do that to computers.
You keep them alive, do you?
Yes. So far as they are.
What was that about the windows in Ecclesiastes? The windows of life
Ahead
are
of its
shut
time.
or getting dim.
Yeah.
Luke, have you got anything to add to the conversation?
Sorry, who did you address that to?
Luke. Luke White.
Yeah, he's muted at the moment.
You might have muted, yeah. What about you, Trevor?
He's unmuted.
I was just going to throw in one comment. It's a very old illustration about Ulysses was doing his journey, and he meets the goddess that says to him, does he want eternal life? And Ulysses says to him, what is eternal life? And the question was, is it life as it's lived now, going on for thousands of years, or is it in a different body, in a different dimension? And the goddess said to him, it's as life is now, going on for a very long time. To which he said, well, really, I'm not that interested with all the aches and pains and problems of your current life. Why would you want to go for 1,000 years with all the problems of the current life? Which introduces the topic of what is a resurrected body. And it is quite clear in scripture, it's very, very different to living to many hundreds or thousands of years.
Luke, did you want to say something?
Following on from that, Lazarus died a second time.
He did.
Yeah. I've been to his tomb in Cyprus, his second one.
His second tomb.
As well as his first one. I've been to both. The one
Did they find the bones?
One in Bethany and one in Cyprus.
Yeah.
Kevin, Ecclesiastes doesn't really address the purpose of life, does it? Or did I miss that? Does it say what the purpose of life is? Oh, in 12?
I can't remember. Maybe I shouldn't have popped that comment in. Pass.
Pass.
Yeah, ask a friend.
Yeah. June, what do you reckon the purpose of life is?
Me?
Yeah.
We're created in the image of God. Well, I don't know. I think we're capable of enjoying everything about creation.
Yeah.
Science. We can enjoy it. We can think ahead. We can think about life after death or death, or, we can enjoy a relationship with God.
Yeah.
So I think we're created to converse with God.
Yeah. Yeah.
otherwise, you know, what would the world be for? Yeah, for the creator.
Yeah.
So, and I guess we're created to worship God in our thoughts, words, and deeds, as they say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Getting back to the Garden of Eden, wasn't it the case that God made sure that Adam and Eve couldn't return to the garden because they would therefore access the tree of life because they'd got the knowledge of good and evil, and he didn't want them. They were sort of corrupted, I think, through that, and he didn't want them to live forever in that state. I've forgotten how that achieves anything, but yeah, that was, yeah.
Well, if we go by the Bible, there's another being that you know, lost God's trust and didn't trust God and is living for a long time. There's a Lucifer.
Yeah.
And he's not going to have a good ending, from what we understand.
It's a good example, actually. Yeah.
I know the Westminster Confession says the chief end of man is to glorify God and to enjoy him forever. So that's Westminster Confession's view on the matter. But I'd also say that, like Jesus says, if you obey my commands, I will reveal myself to you. So it's placing a high priority on obeying his commands. So if we is that our purpose in life, to obey his commands?
What are his commands?
Oh, love God with all your heart and soul, and your neighbour as yourself, and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And your neighbour, don't forget him.
And your neighbour as yourself.
Yeah. And your enemy.
Yes.
In the
Very appropriate.
So
in the Seventh-day Adventist circle, we put a lot of emphasis on the 10 Commandments. And as you may have heard, the 10 Commandments itself, we can split it into those 2 commands, to love God and to love your neighbor. The first 4 being loving your God, and the last 6 loving your neighbor or humanity. But they put a special emphasis, or maybe not special emphasis, but they consider the law of adhering to Sabbath, keeping Sabbath, as part of God's law, and that's why we worship on Sabbath, and we consider that as part of, you know, obeying God's commandment. Whereas it's not emphasized as much in other denominations, I suppose.
It's interesting that Jesus didn't actually refer to the 10 Commandments when he summed up the law. He just said, you know, what is the law? It is to love God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. And a second is like it, love your neighbor as yourself. Those 2 are very separate in the Old Testament, but he drew them together. He didn't refer to the Old Testament, refer to the Torah.
I think I cannot say I agree completely to that, because he did quote the law, do not murder, but he reframed what the law says to his interpretation of the law.
Depends which gospel you're reading, doesn't it?
Well, it says, you've heard it said that you shall not murder, but anybody who hates his brother is guilty of whatever.
2:5, Matthew.
He was obviously preaching on it for lots of times, and there were occasions when it would have been said in one way, and occasions it would have been said in another way.
I think doing the Lord's will is probably a part of that plan as well.
Yes, I agree.
To do his will, to love the Lord and to do his will, whatever that is in everyone's life is a bit different.
Is Luke trying to say something, or?
I think Luke is trying to say something, but he got problems with his microphone.
Okay.
Maybe he's on the phone.
David, have you got anything to add to the conversation? Are you muted too, David? Unmute yourself. Down at the bottom, yeah. On the bottom of your screen near the video.
Bottom left.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. I've been not participating, but enjoying all of the comments being made. Certainly, I just want to add another perspective that the loss of hearing, the loss of sight, all of those things that happen to us as we age should not, of course, cause us to lose confidence in still able to relate to our fellow younger human neighbours and friends. And I think can be a tendency that we feel somewhat deprived by some of those aging things that might be happening for us, and that therefore we withdraw from normal, usual contact with our friends or younger people or such. So I think that it's a discipline of the mind still, isn't it? Being renewed in our minds daily to say, look, I'm still of value, even though I might be not hearing as well as I used to. We are still of great value in God's kingdom, that as I guess as fathers and mothers in the kingdom of God, we've got much to offer. And I think that it's a danger that we just think, oh, well, you know, people now no longer probably accept us, and we can't easily relate to this person because he's, you know, losing his hearing or whatever. That is not true. I think we still have a great input, no matter what our age might be, that we hold fast to a renewed mind every day, that we've still got a purpose and a mission in life as long as we live. That's my contribution.
That's fantastic. Thank you, David. Yeah, really good. Yeah.
You learn that when you get grandchildren. I just can't believe how our kids value us, it seems. You know, they really delight in, you know, meeting up and phoning you and things like that. It's wonderful.
You make great grandparents. Great grandparents. So what do you think, Kevin? Is there anything else we can talk about?
I suppose there is. No, well, I've kind of made my contribution.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
Definitely.
We've talked about aging, and I'm not sure whether you've discussed this in your group before, but you know, the longevity of the people in the early chapters of Genesis seems to be quite remarkable, and it's not. You mentioned 120. Well, there's a lot more than that. And what do we make of
Yeah, well, I don't know the answer to that, but it crossed my mind because I was saying that like the telomere shortening means it's 120 and doesn't go beyond it. And I looked it up. There's no evidence of people living long ages from fossils, as you say, that I'm aware of. So I kind of lean towards your view of how to interpret Genesis. But I think it's I understand Brian's position, but I probably should be burnt at the stake for saying this, but yeah, I kind of look at this as stories to illustrate a theological point, but not necessarily historical.
The problem with that is if you work your way back, where does that become change from story into fact?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
For me, from my study of the Bible, a large part of the Bible is about stories, about genealogies, and for me, there's no point of telling those lineage and those facts, places, name of person, if they are not historical. And is for me, it's part of my faith. It's not easy to prove, but that's my faith, that I choose to believe that they are historical.
Yep. That makes two of us.
There's like with all the genealogies that are in the Bible, they kind of make it a struggle for modern readers to read the Bible because they hit those bits and it seems all a bit boring. But if you do actually study them, they actually have a purpose. So the Jews would have certainly understood the significance of the genealogies. But like the initial genealogy in Genesis, it says he's lived 130 years, had a son, then died umpteen years later. So if you say that's historical, then yeah, you've got to. I can understand why people say it's historical.
Some people have said to me that have told me the story of Muslims coming to read the genealogies in the Gospels, and that has meant so much to them. And a bit like Hassan, I guess, his culture says that God's in that progression from way back in time right through to the present. God's there. It's his story. It's his tale, as you were. It's his good news. And the Muslims, some of us go, oh, it's the genealogy again.
Yeah, and the New Testament starts with the genealogy. It starts off with
Yes, exactly.
Matthew starts it off with the genealogy.
And takes it as history.
Yeah.
Luke is a historian. He's interested in the history of the genealogy. The problem which we're talking about now is your view of being made in the image of God with Adam. Adam's genome and his creation was unique. He was absolutely perfect in every way. So even though he gets the effect of sin, it takes over 900 years for death to eventually get him. So he's a good example of a super stud human, similar to Eve, the same. So they're unique creatures, and we've got to see, if you plot it carefully, all the ages are dropping off until the flood, and then after the flood we get the rapid decline of human life, and that's the biblical view of life. The problem we have is we take human life now and try and push it back and say a man at 130 can't father children, because we're working with genome of today's man, which scientifically is a problem. But it's not a problem if you take the biblical view of the creation from the start. So Genesis is good history. You can argue it from a historical perspective.
Science,
and the genome can support that argument. Our problem today is a lot of problems is the decline in the human genome.
And the fact that you had brothers and sisters marrying each other, and that was fine.
Yeah.
While now you end up with, you know,
that's
huge
right, problems.
Yeah,
exactly. So the law stopping that is a preserving principle that's in the law. But from the very start, Adam and Eve's children, we're told they had more than a couple of names that we were given. They had no problem fathering and mothering the human race. Not a problem at all.
On that
It's interesting. The time of Moses, things had declined somewhat, so brother and sister were forbidden from having relationships that way, but it was still fine for cousins. Whereas by our day today, it's not good for cousins either.
Yeah, that's right.
With respect, Genesis isn't a biology textbook.
Well, the biological principles are in it, and they can be argued scientifically. If you go in it, there's a lot of good material around. Pardon?
They can be argued, but whether that's actually the correct way to do it is not well established. There's lots of debate about that.
Yeah, I know there's debate, but what I'm saying, in the debate, There's a very good book called The Human Genome by a geneticist who gives a good scientific argument for Genesis and how you can argue about mutations and the decline in the human genome from a scientific viewpoint. So what I'm saying is there's definitely differences, that's for sure.
Francis Collins wouldn't necessarily agree with that.
Yeah, I know that, but what I'm saying is in the debate, you've got to look at all perspectives, and the Bible gives a different perspective on the origin of human beings. We're not the product of slime. We don't get a prince from a frog. So
Have you ever kissed a frog to find out?
well, what I'm saying is I think as Christians, we can argue that there is a basis to see Genesis scientifically, and we shouldn't be ashamed to argue the points in it.
To add to that, I think even talking about the recent history, and again, when I talk about history, I think we share the perspective that history is very difficult, can be very difficult to prove. And it's only in more recent times that we have discovered from archaeological evidence that supports the notion that Jesus is not a fictional character, that Pontius Pilate is not a fictional character. It was only recently that they discovered this archaeological evidence. And if we think about, people in 500 AD, for example, what evidence would they be looking at to prove that their faith is the right one? And we cannot say I have 100% conclusive evidence that my faith is the right one. There has to be some component of trusting God that what He says is true.
That's an interesting point. When someone mentioned genealogies in Matthew and how it seems tedious to start it that way, well, some recent viewing that I've been doing on Christian Messianic Jews, one of the points they've made is that the way that Matthew opens up with the genealogies is like a transition from the Torah over to from the Old Testament to the New. It's like just opening up a new chapter. It's something very familiar in it. And as that in itself has a big impact on the Jewish people who are reading the New Testament for the first time. People have given that's been a part of their testimony of coming to faith, is seeing the genealogies and how Christ is mentioned in there. So I found that interesting. It was the first time I'd ever sort of seen it that way, from a Jewish point of view. Yeah, wow. Has anyone else got anything else to add? Luke, are we hearing you? You made a little... oh, that's right. Okay. You're not available at the moment. That's okay. That's fine.
Oh, well, shall we terminate the recording at least?
Yeah. We'll just stop the recording.
Yeah. I'll see if I can find the right button. Okay.